Hey guys and gals, it's been a week since I've last done a teamfight practice video, and I'm thinking that we're gonna do one more today. So, we're gonna have a look at the top 10 teamfight from the EU&NA LCS Week 1 Spring Split 2017. I know that it's a long time since this came out, but I'm working with what I can find on YouTube, and I'm just gonna pretend that it's not patch 7.1 but 8.16 or 15 or whatever, which league I'm watching right now. So to explain the basic concept, I listened to what the play-by-play caster in the video says during this team fight. I pick it up afterwards, and then I put on a timer from my phone, which by the way is the Samsung Galaxy S8, I think, and I quite like that one. Not sponsored by Samsung. But with that timer on my phone, I will time this exercise so that I know how long I have and how long I can talk and when I need to stop. So today I am probably gonna run 20 seconds. Last time around I ran 15, and before that it was 20 seconds as well. I want to try 20 again because I think 15 seconds is cool when you have these hype moments, and it felt like I had a good video for that last time around. But 20 seconds gives you a little bit more time to talk about what you could potentially also look at on the map and which objectives and rewards the players could get from a big play. First off, I really want to highlight that this is a Varus running an Essence Reaver. This is an old Essence Reaver. It's Taps playing that, so this is very old. This is like the OG when they rebranded after losing like Swen and Mithy to G2. So I'm guessing let's just jump straight into it. I've been talking for now 2 minutes. Shouldn't be that long. Let's just jump into it.
I mean, as Crepo said on the desk, it's not a mistake that you should really be making in the LCS, but it happened a couple of times to Hiva. Arrow comes out, there's a QSS.
And Jankos goes in onto Hiva, tries to turn his attention, flashes and flashes and flashes, and the red carpet's down. Tabs picks up Jankos, and H2K are turned away as the teleport comes in now. Or canceled. Goodbye.
He's out.
All right.
He did want none of that.
That was Houdini if I ever saw one, but we might be back into another fight here.
Tower's done.
LCS, the tower is done. They find Wisdom and melt through his health bar, but Nahun comes back out of nowhere. Instant exhaust. Shade's melted through. Satorius absorbs the ultimate of Febivin, and it's fights around the back. Nahun stepping it up with the damage, but he's stunned. The burst. There's no help. Febivin finishes him off. It's a 3 for 3, and we're not done yet. Hiva's going down. Double kill for the tree.
And
Incredibly massive fights between these two teams. It started out with Jankos going in, but he died early on, and then H2K, they went on to take that tower. OG tried to defend it, but Neon had no ult, Taps had no ult, Satorius, no ult either. Let me try and do that over again. It all looked like a good start. Messy fights here between H2K and OG. H2K, they pushed onto that tower, but because of Origin having no ults from 3 of their carries, they just couldn't defend that even though they tried to do so. It ended up with them losing 4 members, and now H2K just getting a tower on their own and coming off with a 2,000 gold lead. Yeah, so that was 20 seconds. I think that's fine to take it the way I just took it right there, to try and spin it into that way, because it wasn't an incredibly hype fight right there. It was very messy, neither team really coming that far out ahead and getting a big reward off of it. But I think it's great to highlight that even though H2K, they give up 3 kills, that they still get a tower and 4 kills of it, so a small reward is something that H2K, they get. So I think that's important to highlight. I didn't want to talk about them pushing further because even though Taps is still up, they don't have a lot of auto attack abilities on the side of H2K. It's only really Febivin and LCS. And Baron isn't really on the cards quite yet.
his ultimate to get back down to the bottom side and avoid the fight from
Do they continue? Oh, yeah.
Again though, right back at the scene of the crime. Arrow hits Biofrost. Guess what? Wild Thunder can ultimate if he needs to. Not gonna happen just yet. Contract spinning the wings. Honka to lock him up. 6,000 HP on Baron, and the Ren stacks drop. So it's the re-engage. Double stun. Contract. Oh, the catch by the Q for the Maokai. But look at the bullet time. Smoothie just eviscerates the backline. Gets a double kill on the entire lane. And now there's a bit more to be done. Svensker and low on HP with 5 members of C9 here to take that kill. And he gets into the portal. Does jump into the Baron pit. Still running out of HP as Haunter dies after Guardian Angel. 5 versus 2 on the map. And the health bars total about 300 HP. So TSM have nothing to do right now as C9 stop the start to the Baron.
Smoothie comes up huge in that fight for C9. With that bullet time, just keeps 4 members of TSM locked down. And now this means that C9, they can turn on to this Baron. That was 12 seconds. I think you could have talked more. I didn't really notice what Jensen was doing in that fight. I think you could have talked more about what TSM did well in that fight. That was the scat of the week. And how Wild Turtle and Biofrost, they died early on. Like, I don't want to be too hype for this fight, because it wasn't a very hype fight. It was very messy once again, I feel like, for the two teams. What was it I wanted to say? I had it on the tip of my tongue, but I just forgot. Like, again, even though I have 20 seconds, I don't need to use 20 seconds. A potential thing you could have also added for that fight is that Svenskeren is still up, so a possible Baron steal could be on the cards for TSM. If you wanted to hype it up a little bit more. After all, it's a 36-minute game, so hyping it up could have been perhaps a little bit smarter.
300 HP, so TSM have nothing to do right now as C9 stop the start to the Baron.
I mean, you're not going to have any impact of who he kills you in half of a second. That's what he's going to be keeping in mind as the Baron down about a quarter HP. Apollo going to be stunned up. They're going to make the plays if they can. Aframu dead first. Apollo looking to run. Alex each is done, but so is Stixay. Huhi jumping right back in. Going to be able to grab the kill onto Apollo as well. Seraph trying to flee. Ninja blocking the path. Huhi. Sonya's up. Seraph looking to turn it right back around. Huhi. He doesn't have the damage. Seraph. What in the world? He just has to avoid the E from Nautilus, and then he's able to actually pick him up afterwards. They're going to chase him down. Envy turns this fight around. An ace.
Oh, wait. My phone just went off. Gigantic fight right there from Seraph. Comes up huge and just carries Envy through that fight. Alex H to begin with kills Stixay and Aframu, but it is Seraph that makes sure that Hui just can't continue his slaughter in that fight. And this means that Envy, they can go back defend their base without having to worry about that Baron. Oh, sorry, just got a text from work. Okay, so I think that was a very good pickup right there. I feel like that overall I hit on the most important things in that fight, talking about how Alex H killed Stixay and Aframu. I could potentially have talked more about why that meant that Hui was the only carry for CLG, and then talking about Seraph, of course, being that big carry in that fight. Meant a lot for Envy. It wasn't a big team fight where you really could analyze why and how stuff happened, more than just saying, okay, Alex H killed the backline meant that damage was lacking from CLG and therefore they only had Hui to really work with. And that Seraph just had some good positioning to dodge both Dashan and Hui, who didn't have his ults.
From Jace! Empowered minions pushing through the middle lane. Top inhibitor is exposed. Ash Arrow is just about
oh man, this is when Amazing was on Fnatic.
There was a ping on the Raptor camp ward. Caps gets stunned down. That's the man. Caps is shut down. He's dead. Teleport coming in from Expect. In from behind. He's flashing over. Caught Jezus. Reckless is in trouble. That's 2 members of Fnatic down. It comes unraveled. Amazing running for his life. It's a 5-on-3. Soez has a Guardian Angel. Perks will get dropped down by the mine. Not done yet. Reckless running out of mana. Bullet time tagging up Soez. And Amazing re-engages. The Dredge line locks down Trick. It's now a 2-for-2. And G2 are running. Look for the Sonic Wave. Dash forward. Wave connects. No Lee syndrome.
Not enough, but a 2-for-2. G2 takes down the Fed Rise in the start, but
even though G2 they find a great oh wait, that's an email. You are not supposed to see that. Let me restart. Even though G2 they find the first kill there onto Cass with a great ultimate from both Perks and Sven, they can't continue that fight. Expect does not use his ult, so they can't catch Reckless, and he just stands in the back line and continues to auto attack. This means that even though G2 they started that fight out well, they didn't remove all of the Baron from Fnatic, who now can continue to fight. Let me do that over again because they're not fighting. Great ultimate from Sven and G2. Great ultimate from Perks and Sven to begin that fight, killing Cass, but because of Expect not using his ultimate and because of them not being able to then get onto Reckless, he can just stand in the backline and auto attack, and G2 they aren't able to kill everyone from Fnatic. Fnatic, still with the Baron buff, are now hammering onto this inhibitor turret. So I definitely think you could have talked more about that team fight in itself, about how they were able to get onto Jezus and Caps, and the good peeling. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? The good kiting, that's the word, from Reckless that meant that he didn't go down. I definitely think you could have talked about that more if you wanted to. But I think that it was an okay way of me reaching around it and really gave the setup back to Trevor if I was casting with him. You could hear how the Fisher went, okay, so that's a 2-for-2 and this and that. That's also a way of going around it. The Fisher likes to look at the rewards of every play instead of trying to analyze the actual fight.
Reckless and Soaz just staying alive forever, honestly.
And Reckless has no mana. Got to be very careful of this.
Oh,
Does
it continue?
The tower remains standing.
Oh no, it doesn't.
Are pushing against Fnatic. They're forced to recall.
Get healed. Make sure that these first assassins don't just blow them up with the LeBlanc or the Lissandra. Lustig, they found Keeper. Gate eats him. That's good, but the teleport's coming in from Lupa. Tidal Wave, who's going to keep moving through, and Gate taking a good chunk of damage. Arcadian in there as well. As Ryu's going to get knocked up, and Zig goes into the air as well. Adrian eating damage as Froggen, looking for another flank. He's found his way around. He's to go back in, but gets himself exhausted. Keith goes down as Anori. Not able to take him down. Ryu just launches himself into the team. Arrow's going to get the shot down, and P1 looking to clean up the team fight. Lupa sniped down there as well for his GA. Arcadian's got one, but he doesn't have it for long. Arrow is going to flash his way back towards him, and that's 3 kills already. Make it 4 as Lupa goes down, and Arcadian's the only one left alive. He'll be safe, but P1, huge team.
Because of Rio, Phoenix 1 are able to get to the backline and kill Keith and Gate. And Nori comes in and cleans up that fight. And only Acadian is the only guy left. Let me read it to that. Because of Rio, they are able on the side of Phoenix 1 to get to the backline of Echo Fox. They kill Keith, they kill Froggen, and Acadian is the only one left standing. 35 seconds. This could very well be the game right here for Phoenix 1. So that was 15 seconds. I think one thing you could have talked more about was how Lupa was able to come in with a great ultimate to begin with, which meant that they had to disengage on the side of P1, but then you could have talked about how Rio was able to use the Glacial Path, I think, the Frozen Claw, whatever, to get to the back line, to get onto Keith, and then use the Frozen Tomb, and just put down a lot of damage onto that guy. I think that is something you could have talked about if you wanted to. when I'm like doing this, it's all about me doing what I feel of my instinct and what I feel like I should be talking about. And right here, it was more a case of me wanting to say, okay, I want to talk about how hyped this is and this could be the game. Because after a big play, you look at the rewards the players they get off of it, and I feel like that was what I needed to mention right there.
Team fight win there. See if they can catch him. Expect to get pushed back for just a second. Cannon Sven finds Sven. Instant QSS into the heel, and he's kiting, but Maxlor says no, not today. Sven says I think so, and he flashes out. All the summoners, all the actives blown, but Rocket, they are running steadily out of options. Expect with the barrel outplay, and he gets a double taunt onto Faxi, onto Maxlor. Sven pushing him back once again, and the rest of Rocket, they're looking haywire, but did his kick right into mid. The Strangledoor's on. Faxi gets the kill. They've taken down Maxlor. It is a 1-for-1 so far, but Yar is gonna fall. Sven, they found Foxy, they found Betsy. Can they take down the gangplank? He's dodging, but it can't be for much
longer. What the hell is Sven doing in
with
this fight?
Trick and Perks and Expect all on his back. He's just trying to buy some time. Betsy's here. Maybe he can find Trick. The damage just enough. No, it isn't. Trick with the outplay. Betsy in a 1v2. If Trick really wants to come in here, it would be a 1v3. But Betsy has just got nothing. And look at Sven. He's on the...
It's a long It's a long drawn out fight here for G2. Rocket, they invest so much onto that initial catch onto Sven, and they continue to fight, but they invested so many resources into Sven that they had no ultimates that they could really use onto G2. Sven says, okay, you guys are fighting, I will just go for the inhibitor and the win. So, I looked at right here. I think it could have been more. It could have had a better guiding line through it. Like basically, going from Sven to fight, back to Sven, back to fight, back to Sven. I think it was cool, but I would much rather have seen something like, okay, so they invested a lot of resources into catching Sven, but they wanted to continue to fight. But with the lack of ultimates, then that meant that they couldn't fight, and Sven, who survived, said, okay, we just go for the inhibitor and for the win. Something like that. It ended up being more messy the thing that I did, and, well, that's something you can learn from. That's why I'm doing this, to learn from my mistakes and learn from sometimes not having a good teamfight breakdown.
3-1, no more split pushing here. You'll lose the Lich Bane on the turret itself. You'll use the Maokai to dive the turret. No need to actually be away from each other. And now, Ole opens up again.
Oh, Lupa's in, he wants it. Arcadia blows into pieces. Legendary on that play as they're going to dive in. Game locks up Povelta with the ulti, and that's another kill. Ulti proc there from Flame, but Lupa still fighting in the other side. Lupa, can they extract him as Froggen? One Cardo flashes in. Card over. Wild cards in, but Dardock's QSS off the stun. Froggen just needs to chase him, but Dardock trying to fight. He gets out of the way. Back towards his team. Gate goes down to Flame. Froggen, where did you go? There he is, back towards his teammates at Immortals. They fought their way out of the corner. Lupa's dead. Flame got a triple kill.
What the hell? A quarter kill right here from Flame, and Echo Fox, they split their focus. You see Froggen going for Dardock, but that meant the rest of Echo Fox, they were open to just be kited by Cody's Son and Flame, and Echo Fox, they dove so hard under that tower, meant that they took a lot of damage, and ultimately, Immortals, they come out ahead of that fight. So that was like 20 to 21-ish seconds. I think the thing about them diving should have been mentioned before them taking so much damage. It should have been like, okay, so you saw how it was Looper and Keith and Gate. They dove very far under the tower, meant that they took a lot of damage, and because of the split focus from Echo Fox, they just were open for Flame to go hard and get that quarter. Something like that. That should have been more of the way to go.
The launch for the Quadra!
Quadra kill for Flame in his
Quadra
first
kill
game
for
in the LCS.
Flame!
That actually could clip him on an Ash arrow. It's up in about 10 seconds. He puts himself now to the back line. Much better positioning. And Turtle looking for an arrow. They find Dardoch.
Dardoch
They
has no
burn
ult.
him down. No ult on the Ragnarok. One more hit. The poison's ticking. He's getting out with the heal. He's gonna stay alive. They can't get him. Now Immortals has the chance to focus, but Flame gets taken down. The GA's gone from the failed flash.
Bjergsen's
Monster
crushing
gets
everyone.
another shield as Bjergsen can stay on the back line and just fang the pain in to the entire Immortal squad. Dardoch in the middle here is the one that could go down. He's gonna keep running. Olay heads bot. What can TSM do after this?
And they can look to push, they can look to try to run all the way down and see what they can get done. But look at Immortals, ulting into the base, they're gonna go back up!
Oh.
The Turtle is back!
Oh no, this can't be
He
done.
should be able to do it. Look, Bjergsen doesn't even look phased right now. Turtle tries to get the hit. Sends Garen back as well. Dardoch very low health, so he's got the fast out. They're able to cancel it.
The moment that Dardoch and Flame, they turn low in that fight, Immortals, they have to back off. They try to end the game with a Realm Warp from Popelver, but they simply can't do it. Up in the top side, look at TSM, they have a lot of minions. This could be TSM actually winning this game. 16, 17-ish seconds. So, I think there should have been a bigger pause, or sorry, a longer pause between me saying that they tried to go for the end and then look up towards the top side. I think there should have been a longer pause. If there was two casters, if it was a tri-cast, then it could have been an okay transition. But I do believe that I'd ultimately believe that there should have been a longer pause when I'm doing it as my own, just so it seems more cohesive and not necessarily as one point, but two separate points and me realizing something.
TSM could go down mid, they can look to try to get something done. They must try to fight right now.
Second Nexus turret goes down. The 80 carries up. Cody's still there. The Nexus is down. TSM with the comeback victory in game 1 of the series.
Not going to do it quite yet, but we'll pressure him off. But it's Samix who has overextended, straying way too far, and not a whole lot to get excited about here. Samix getting cut down, a smart move from Vitality, but honestly just an overextension for the new 80 carry on the Unicorns of Love.
Oh, Nuke is trying to block them from coming down and killing Joko.
Going in, TP's coming in, Hachani looking to get aggressive. Hillisang has been locked up. What can they get? Nuke Duck is here. That's a ton of damage. Out comes the ultimatum. Nuke Duck now set to die. Will the team join in? He can no longer get the 1v1, but Chachi's cleaning up house. Oh, Hachani maybe set to drop. Next to flash out. Cabo with the moves. Cabo pulling back. Exile now the one in trouble. Leaps in from Cabo Shard. Will he make the hero play? One more bullet. Cabo goes in. Triple kill for the Fiora.
As well.
Oh,
Getting
wait.
that cooldown for
Go back.
Will he make the hero play? One more bullet. Cabo.
Messy fight right here from Vitality and Unicorns of Love, but with 3 kills going into the hands of Cabochard now, he gets a little bit back into this game. Might just be able to actually match Vizichachi out on that side lane now, and you have to then consider that with the minions hitting that lower inner turret on the side of Unicorns of Love, Vitality might just get a tower here with Steelback and Cabochard still being up. 25 seconds. Overall, I don't think actually that was a good fight at all. Just incredibly messy and people just being caught out of position from Unicorns of Love. Slowed it down, or not necessarily slowed down, but I don't think you should mention so much about the split pushing aspect of it by Vizichachi. Wait, what? Of the Vizichachi getting those kills. I think it should have been more like, okay, Vizichachi getting a lot of kills, that's great, now he's back in the game. Look at Vitality, they can go for that inner turret if they want to. There are some death timers on the side of Unicorns of Love, or they can go for the safe pick and go for that Cloud Drake. That is stuff that you could have said.
Goes in, triple kill for the Fiora.
as well. Getting that cooldown for a lot of percentage HP on the front line. So definitely another good tool that they're using. And Bjergsen has to pick his opportunities to go in.
For a bit there, Impact of course very tanky. Arrow's gonna hit Jensen. Now it's up for Smoother to keep them alive. Voldy's gonna tag onto 4. They caught Biocross. Down goes the TSM support. Hook into the back line. Bjergsen's gotta be careful on this one. Pops the ulti. A double for Jensen. Redemption. Now it's 3 for him. Impact still alive in the front line. Refuses to go down. It's a hat trick and a double kill
TSM, they group up in a choke point right here against C9. With the Scatter of the Week, the Chain of Corruption, and Impact's Nautilus, they just demolish the TSM right here. Now C9, they can just run down the mid lane. There's only one Nexus Tower standing between them. Let me try that over again, because there's actually an inhibitor standing between them as well. Dredge line. It's not a dredge line. What's the Nautilus old being? What's it called? Yeah, whatever. TSM, they group up in the choke point, and C9, they go up against them. Impact, Jensen, and Sneaky, they are so good in these choke points, and TSM, well, they should... TSM, they group up in the choke points against C9, and Jensen, Sneaky, and Impact, they use all of the ultimates on them. You should imagine that TSM would love to go into this choke point too, with Bjergsen being a Katarina, but it just doesn't work out. And now C9, they can run down the mid lane. All that's standing between them and the victory is an inhibitor and one Nexus Tower. So I think I gave over a little bit too much in that one. Ultimately, I think it should just be something like, okay, C9 is good at choke points because X, Y, and Z. Probably should have mentioned in the actual cast too. And then just highlight, okay, there's one Nexus Tower left and one inhibitor, run down the mid lane, there's death timers inside of TSM, and X, Y, and Z is why C9, they can now win. Exactly, something like that. Gaping over a little bit too much right here. I don't think I should have mentioned Bjergsen at all, honestly. But yeah, I think that's the last team fight. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this is helpful for some of you guys to realize why team fighting breakdowns has a lot of aspects for us colorcasters. And well, with that being said, I'll hopefully get to do some more videos throughout the week. I do have a tough schedule, of course, with my part-time jobs, and obviously I do have some casting gigs in the weekend. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Remember to follow me on social medias. Bye bye.